I found that quite fascinating, and I haven't covered everything, but we'll try and encapsulate, I think, some of the key points of most of the speakers this morning. I think from Greg Chappell, the key statement was let biology have a go, which is what Moira was saying, and that's one of the key missing links. Martin Royce was on building biology, cattle management to build the fertility of the soil, long-term plan, having a plan is critical. Slowing down water, critical. Brian was talking about heavy stubble management through the use of Adrian Murray's fungal brew. Adrian, I think, is probably he's probably seeded about 400,000 or 500,000 hectares of land, mainly in Victoria, some in South Australia. So he's pretty popular in terms of what he is doing, and you should follow up with him because I think it's a good thing to do. The key, I thought, from Brian's comments was the need to change the attitudes of agronomists. That's where it's all happening, and it's happening in the wrong direction. And how we do that, I think, has got to be a matter for you and for the Soils for Life Board and the Soil Advocate and so on. So let's register that one as a big one that needs to be dealt with. The other key, how do you convince sceptical neighbours who are embarrassed with being wrong? And it's true. You know, if you're criticising somebody for 10 years in the pub, in your local pub, and that suddenly something makes good, very few people have the moral courage or even the physical courage to stand up and say, I was wrong, that guy or that lady was right. And that's why you often see at the seminars that are being run on our field days, it's not the next door neighbours that are turning up to the seminar, it's the neighbours 100 clicks or 50 clicks down the road. So how do we overcome this? I call it a Australian male cultural cringe, actually, because you know, we haven't got the guts to stand up and say I was wrong, and we should. So that's the only way to make progress. The carbon sequestration, I thought, was very, very interesting. 4.9 tonnes per hectare up to 6.5. Noticing the change in native grass evolution, the expansion of numbers of native grasses. Shane and Shan, trees. We've got to get our forester people to tell us exactly what trees do. I'll give one example, I think, in some of my speeches. You know, in the paddock where it's grass 30 degrees, house 27 because you get protected from the sun. Under the big tree with a 10-metre canopy, it's 22 or 23 degrees, not because of the shade, but because that tree is sucking up 400 or 500 litres of water per day, and the energy required to convert that water into vapour from the leaves and the stomata is the equivalent energy of about 10 household air conditioners. And it converts that water into vapour, and up it goes, and then it drops as local precipitation somewhere down the track 50 clicks away, called the small water cycle, as I understand it. And I think the point was made that destroying trees, you fundamentally destroy the small water cycle. And we've got to restore that. And somebody's got to be able to explain it in very simple terms. So that was on trees. John Dunningcliffe, of course, we'll learn more from him in terms of water and stock management being the key to the whole business. How he does it is the answer. We'll learn more from that when he talks to that business later on. The North East Catchment Management Authority testing for soil carbon, suggesting using TAFE and independent agronomists again, the independent agronomists, to get the right answer. And I think one of the sad things about the soil testing, carbon testing that was done by CSIRO 12 months ago, is that they missed out on the high performers over the outlier stations. And I think Cole Sykes was really on about the restoration of ecological function. I found his comment about how his native perennials in number have gone from about 9 to more than 50, and his statement that we've got to work with nature, and if you work with nature you'll get greater profit, sustainability and easier to run. And that's the other big message I think we've got to get across. We can't engineer nature out of the equation. We've done that for 50 years and we survived for a while, but now we've stuffed it up. And now we've got to work with nature, otherwise nature will knock us over. And that gets back to the civilisation question that somebody raised. We really need somebody to take on a history of civilisations, because you'd quite like to say that civilisations rose on agriculture, but they also fell on agriculture. Whether it was the Fertile Triangle in the Middle East, what's happening in Egypt now, what's happening in Mesopotamia, and so on. And I'm maintaining that Western civilisations is probably going faster to aridification and desertification than those earlier civilisations. And we need somebody to be able to say that and prove it, so it gets taught in the ag colleges and the universities. If you don't understand the civilisational history and how civilisations rose and fell, mainly through their way they worked the land, we will repeat the same mistakes. And I think that's just about it. Ian and Di Haggerty, of course, connecting with the country. Listen to what the land is saying. You've got to develop a feel and understanding for that, of course. John Ives, I thought, very interesting in terms of the hydraulic power of water, from holding it in the high ground, and then with the trees, etc., the fertility and the fertility moving down the slopes, etc., rather than rushing off through degraded landscapes, etc. I think that's about enough for me, but there was a lot in that.